guys, I'm Brittany Xavier.
And I'm Anthony Xavier.
And you're listening to The Long Game. Hello, welcome back to The Long Game. I'm a bit under the weather as of recording this. My voice is a little scratchy. I've been having a cough at night that is just keeping me up. But I've talked to a few people here and they said that it may be just the spring in Tennessee is like super blooming. I don't feel like I have allergies normally though. Do you think that's true?
I mean, I had gone through my nose and coughing, and same with Poppy and Elliot. I mean, and we didn't have a fever or...
Yeah, it's just like my nose will not stop running.
Yeah, and everything's blooming, everything's green, flowers are out, and I mean, the grass out there is getting taller. It's just,
yeah,
maybe a lot of
it's
stuff
that.
In the air.
I'm hoping it's just that. Okay, we're going to do a little bit of a Q&A that I actually put these on my Instagram. They were episode requests, but I got a lot of different questions and I figured we can go through them one by one and see how many we get through.
That works.
Adjusting to new home/moving.
It's definitely an adjustment. I mean, it's not easy. You're uprooting your life and what you're used to and where we've been our whole lives, and coming to a different state, new house, new routine, being with the kids more. It's an adjustment. It can be overwhelming, but I know that once we kind of get our footing and get a good routine going, it's going to be good. And it's tough because what we came out here to do, like have animals and do livestock and start, I guess, homesteading. You know, we're not able to do that currently just because we are renting and we're trying to find a place that's going to be able to accommodate that. But we have been starting to get the materials to build the garden beds. We've got your plantings. And we've done some yard work out there, pulled up quite a few things, realized there was wild chives out there that we were just buying at the store. So it's fun, and anything new is going to be difficult, or there's going to be some struggle because it's new to us. We don't know what we're doing, and we're trying to learn and sign up for courses that teach us how to, raise plants and animals.
I would say overall though, it's so nice being out here. Like I wish we would have done it sooner.
Like before the kids were born, or?
Yeah, maybe. I feel like we should have done it. Well, I always think I'm like, we would have gotten such a great deal because all the home prices now out here are like so much higher than they were like in 2019, 2020. But like we could have instead of buying our first house in California, we could have bought one out here for like way less. And
if we were going to do that at all, we should have done it during COVID.
I know, because the prices, even seeing what homes sold for there now, and like it's had so much growth, and a lot of people are from California where we're at out here. So that's actually driving home prices up too.
But also too, we had thought about moving out of California before, but with Jaden in school. But
that was a huge thing.
Yeah, but being that she had 8th grade at home, basically, that could have been...
And she was thriving during then.
Yeah, it could have been a perfect time to be able to check out different spots. But,
Yeah, so we, it's like you could always think what you should have done. And I feel like we were supposed to be here when we were, but it's just people are so kind here. It's like so refreshing. And even the little changes are different. Like, for example, when I went to go to Quest to get my blood work drawn, the one in Pasadena, they're always so rude there, like always. And I just figure that's just like, medical industry, like they never say hi, anything. But here it's like I had gone 2 times, and both times they're just holding conversation, asking how I'm doing. I'm like, oh, this is so different than, this is Quest, right? Like this is the standard training probably across. And even someone came today to do my measurements, and she was so friendly. I'm like, hey, she's from, I'm just doing all this like testing to see like if the mold's gone. And yeah, so like you notice little things like that I don't think if we were from California, we wouldn't see the difference.
I do feel like I am, when I do have conversations with, a few of people that I met at the coffee shop, the workers, when you're having a conversation, it's not, those conversations where you're talking and you can tell they're kind of just humoring you, where they're just, but their mind is somewhere else. But conversations here, they're actually like asking you questions or like, oh, what are you up to? What do you have this weekend? It's more of a laid back, and they actually generally want to know and get to know you. So that's been refreshing.
Yeah, I would say I've noticed the biggest difference on that are the events I've gone to. I've gone to 3 brand events here since we've moved. And it's the same thing. Like at the LA events, I feel like because that's all I had ever known, LA and New York events, like it's like you'll talk to someone, and I'm always someone that like asks a lot of questions. Like I'm like, oh, like I want to know about the person. And it's like sometimes you can tell someone's like looking elsewhere to see like who else is cooler to talk to. And I've gotten that vibe a lot from different people in the industry, but just in general, I'm like, I don't, it's like, okay, whatever. Like we're just at the event. I'm going to be nice. But here it's like the events that I've gone to, like I've really made connections. I've got someone's number and it's like you're genuinely talking to the person the whole time. They're not on their phones. Like, and then it's like when people would say like, oh, LA influencers, like I didn't really know what people were talking about, like how the shallowness, and it's not everyone's like that, but especially I guess if we were always in it, like we didn't really see the difference.
But I also think too, it comes down to the person.
It's so
If
true.
that's the type of person that just, oh, who's the big name here? I need to go talk to them because they're part of this or for whatever reason. But if you're just a generally nice person, you're going to take the time to just have genuine conversations. But
yeah,
unfortunately, there is more of a concentration in LA of people
who have moved from. It's like very rare to have someone who's actually from LA there, so they're like moving in, trying to better their career, figure out who they should talk to. Right. So I think there's a little bit of that. But yeah, so I think that's been just so amazing to just see that difference. And it's like people are just so curious every time we take a walk, people are waving. It's just like that. Like I feel like people are a little bit looking out for each other.
When we got
which
pizza,
is really refreshing.
The owner of the pizza place, I didn't even know he was the owner until a little bit later in our conversation, but he grabbed my pizza and then he was just sparked a conversation with me and we were talking for a little bit. And then he had mentioned that, well, because he was talking about his boys and how they eat so much. And it's like, good thing I have a pizza place because they'll run me dry. But, it's just that genuine connection and wanting to have a conversation.
Yeah, that's really nice. I am excited about the wellness scene out here is really exciting because I found a holistic dentist, doesn't use any fluoride for the kids' cleanings. And then I found kind of like a holistic pediatrician. Well, they make house calls. So they come over. You never have to take your kid actually into the doctor. And I love that. It's like a membership fee, but it's pretty affordable for like way less than insurance. And I love that. It's like she can come over and check the kids if anything, and then I can do telemed, but it's like I don't have to take them to a sick kids area, which is kind of a cool, it's very personable. It goes back to that personable family community aspect out here, which really didn't realize how much we were missing that when we were in LA.
No, I think it's been great. I'm glad we're out here.
Jaden, when she goes to college too. She's going to do a post on that, but the location of us really works out for that. Yes. That's the only thing I'll say on that.
It's a secret.
I don't know when she's going to post it. She said she was going to do a cute little thing on it, so she's really excited. Bitcoin investing and strategies. I would say the only thing about Bitcoin and crypto, what I've learned is that whatever you're investing, make sure you're okay to lose that money. Say, like, pretend you're going to Vegas and you're okay to blow all that money you're investing. I would not put that in if that's like your only investment.
Yeah, you need to diversify. It doesn't have the track record. But yeah, crypto, it's still, somewhat new. And if you're thinking you're going to put all your long-term investing into that, that's not a great idea. You need to diversify and get into index funds, something that has that long history where you can go back 50 years and check out, the S&P 500. You can see the trends with crypto because it's just so relatively new. You just don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. Now you can have a little bit of money in there, and then if you lose it, then
and you're okay with losing it, that it's not going to devastate you. Otherwise, I would do mutual funds or index funds, something very safe, and S&P 500.
Yeah, don't put your retirement fund in that.
No. Confidence to post on socials.
I mean, I still don't have confidence to post on socials. I just started.
I don't think it's the lack of confidence. You're just like,
I know, but then I do, when I do record a story, I'm like, is this even worth it? Do people even care? Or like, what am I doing here? I think it's just,
but I think you have to go back to your why. Why are you posting? Right? Like if you're sharing something valuable and you're like really genuinely interested in something, why not post it? Just don't read the comments.
Well, it's not like I get hate comments, but just
don't overthink it. I feel like if you like it, you're into it, then just put it up there.
What about you?
I think the same thing is just, if you want to do it, do it. Like, but if someone's pressuring you to be like, you should post, you should really get in this, and you're like, then don't feel pressured by someone else. But if you're like, oh, I love to post and I love to create content, I want to do this, then start doing it. I mean, I wouldn't do it because you think you're going to make money at it right away, because it's definitely a slow burn, especially now if you're starting out.
Also, doesn't need to be like 100% perfect either.
Yeah.
You just throw it up there and you get better over time. You probably won't be able to, but looking back at the beginning photos and the beginning videos, and
they're so bad.
It's very embarrassing. But if we didn't go through that and then keep on learning our craft and getting better and better just through posting, really, then it's like it's never going to be perfect. You just need to start doing it, and then you just tweak it along the way. And that's how you build the confidence too.
Yeah, because each time it gets a little bit easier and you get your flow going, your routine as far as what makes it easier to film and get a post up.
I mean, remember when stories first came out?
Oh my gosh, I was so awkward on story. I mean, I still don't really like talking to camera that much on stories. I feel like if it's like specific, I will, but like when stories first came out, that was like the main thing. Everyone is like, tell what you're doing all day long. So you're like trying to figure it out. And I felt like that was just like really hard for me at first. And then you get in the hang of it because you're starting to do it. But I just think it's too much to do that all day long too. Like there's no way I can do that. Like I'll share a little bit on stories, but I'm not like talking to camera, giving you like a play by play, because it's just like that would take up all day for me. But do what works for you. If I didn't have kids, maybe I would more.
You would post more stories.
I mean, maybe, because then, like if I'm not making lunch for them or if we're not doing something together, like I guess I could be doing that, right?
Yeah.
So I think it really depends on your schedule and what. Also, like if you have like a 9 to 5 and you're in the office, you're not going to really be doing that. I guess if you had batch content before, that's what we did before a lot of times. But we didn't have stories when we first started. We had batch content. We posted on the blog the next week, but there was no video stories or anything.
And then when stories came out, then it was just everyone was kind of just showing what they were doing instead of being on the camera, because it's like a whole nother element, because you want to make sure you're comfortable and you don't look awkward talking in front of the camera. And it's like, who are you talking to? I don't know. But that was in the beginning.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, when I feel like when stories first came out, it was just people were showing things. It wasn't so much like a front facing.
I feel like it was all front facing because it was all the Snapchat filter, because Snapchat came out first and then Instagram stories tried to knock it off, remember? And so it was all like the dog filter.
Snapchat. Oh, and all the filters.
It was all the filters. So it was like all front facing with a weird dog filter, because everyone would download their Snapchats and post it to TikTok or to Instagram.
That was like a whole revolutionary thing, is
That was
the filters and
well,
like,
yeah, that was a weird time. That was 2017 or something, wasn't it? Oh
yeah, a
gosh.
couple years. Yeah.
Your follower audience responds to your move/life shift. I'm sure we're getting new followers here, as I mean, not everyone's going to be interested in wanting to garden or doing the different things that we've gotten more interested in over the last year. But the people who align with me will follow me, and if they don't align, they'll unfollow. So it's kind of like I feel like you can't live your life based on your audience or what your audience thinks. You have to live your life on what's authentic to you. So truthfully, I don't know. I'm like, I'm sure I'll know in a couple of years and I can check my demographics. What do you think?
And that's the, yeah, you can't, we're just sharing our lives and what our interests are. And if it doesn't align, or if it's, I mean, it's completely different from 10 years ago, because we were in a different space. We only had Jaden. We were traveling a lot. And then as we start to have kids, you know, our family dynamics change, what we're interested in. But everything that we share, it's not because it's trendy or it makes other
Just the
people
different
happy.
stages of life that we're in.
Yeah.
And so I think that's so true. Like when we had Jaden, we were in a position where we could go on a ton of trips. She was also going up to Oregon. And so we'd always fill those 2 weeks that she was there with like a ton of things to do. That was like our time that we were married, but without little ones, I would say.
Because we never got that time of being married just and being together.
Mm-hmm. We were like a family right from the start. So I think that's maybe why we took a while to have Poppy. But now looking back, I feel like we should have not waited as long. What do you think? I feel like what a waste of time.
What?
Don't you think?
I mean, I feel like they came at the time.
I mean, obviously they came when they were supposed to be,
yeah.
right? But it's like, they're just so much fun. Like, why would we have waited so much? Like, we take them on trips with us.
Also, our setup wasn't really, I guess you can't say it really is never a perfect time to have kids, but
right. And
I
it's
mean,
like,
we were in an apartment when we did get the first house. That's when,
I mean, but you can have a baby in an apartment.
I know, but it was a 1-bedroom apartment. Then it was like 2
the
bedrooms.
baby sleeps in your room. Elliot slept with us for almost a year in our bed.
But we didn't know that.
I know, but it's like you try to
happen.
make it all perfect, but it's like, when did he actually use his actual room to go on in his nap? Maybe, I guess. And obviously when I did all the diaper changes, but it's like you could do the diaper change on your bed, just put a little thing down. I guess you just get more lax with it as time goes on.
That would be weird if their Poppy and Elliot were 8 or 6 right now, if we did start earlier.
Did you sleep train your kids how you got them to sleep on their own in their own beds?
Well,
I mean, with Poppy, we tried. I was very strict on the schedule with her. She never slept with us in our bed until she was probably a little over 1, would you say? Because she would never settle down. Remember, we tried to put her in our bed, and she would always flop around. She would always like play, and then she would like throw her water bottle to hit me in the face a few times, remember? And it was kind of scary. I was like, she just goes crazy in there. Like, she flops around, she would play. She would never just lay down.
mm-mm.
And of course, I didn't want to put her in there in our bed for her nap and then her possibly fall off. So I feel like until she was 1.5, there was a period when she did start to lay down in there. I just can't remember when.
I mean, I remember having to hold her and rock her to sleep and then slowly put her in the crib, or even at nap times, I would have to carry her. Remember, I would walk
That's
up
right.
the street and by the time I got to the top of the hill, she would fall asleep. And so I'd come back in, lay her in her crib. I feel like with Poppy, she was a lot harder with regards to getting her to sleep. It was just more of a...
But do you think that was just because we like coddled her too much?
Maybe. I think.
Like now with Elliot, if he's fussing a little bit, I'll just like put him in there and you can tell he's tired because he's like rubbing his eyes, he's yawning. And I know he's like kind of fussing for a minute. He'd be like, he does that.
Elliot was so good. I mean, even when he was tiny, we would hold him, rock him.
Don't say good. I don't like when people say good or bad baby.
Not as in a sense of he was easier to put to sleep. But then we were more relaxed on everything.
Like we weren't stressing about all the little details
Like,
about.
oh, you have to go. This is the time. Okay, wait 15 minutes. Okay, is he still crying? Okay, go in there. It was just, we were so trying to be by the book with Poppy, and with him, it was just like wherever he falls asleep. And
Oh, he slept on your chest until probably when he was like 3 months, 4 months, and then he slept in the middle of us on his stomach. I always put him asleep on their stomach. They sleep so much better that way. You know, it's like a big no-no, but it's like you have to really research the data. It's super outdated, but do your own research on that.
but we weren't nearly as tired with him
No.
that we were with Poppy. And
But yeah, he slept in there for a while, and then when he started crawling, then I was too nervous to have him sleep in there because I was worried he was going to crawl off in the bed in the nighttime, and that is a huge dangerous issue. And we had hardwood floors, so if he fell off the bed, that could be a concussion. So then I remember after that, putting him in his bed, and he would like fuss for a little bit, but he falls asleep.
yeah, and he fussed for too long, then you know something's
Then
up.
I'd get him back up and be like, wait, what's going on? Or
Poopy diaper or
Yeah.
something. I mean, Poppy still wants to sleep in her bed. She's
yeah, Poppy, I almost use it as like a bargaining tool. I'm like, all right, so make sure you do this, and you get all your cleaning done in your room, and then you can sleep in our bed tonight. And she's like, okay, I will. Like, she's very much set on she wants to sleep in our bed every night, and she wants to take her naps in there. She's in her nap right now in our bed, and it's fine because it's not like I do have to plan if I'm going somewhere, have an outfit. I need to get that out before she goes to sleep, but
I mean,
it's been working out.
Yeah,
It's so cute.
Yeah, they're only little for so long, and it's cute when you wake up and she's just like
She
out on the bed.
sleeps all over the place though.
She does.
Even she slept with Jaden when she was here, when Jaden was visiting, and Jaden's like, Poppy goes all over the place at night. She has her elbow on my face, like she flips around. She's like, she is crazy to sleep with. But I told Jaden that's how she was growing up. So Poppy reminds me a lot of how Jaden sleeps at night, just like elbows, takes up all the space. I'm like, oh, Poppy, you're so small. How are you taking up this much room? Or then she'll like lay on my chest, or I'm like dripping sweat.
Yeah. She flipped on the other side, and her head is toward
She's
the end
so
of the
funny.
bed.
And then she'll wake up in the night and be like, don't you want to snuggle me? Of course I do. It's so adorable. How do you encourage independent play with Poppy? Thoughts on homeschooling? I guess that's a 2-part question. Independent play with Poppy. I ask her what she wants to work on. So this morning, like for her art area, she has bubbles, she has crayons. And so I asked her, like, what do you want me to get out? Because you're going to work in here for like 15 minutes. And she'll tell me, oh, I want to do Play-Doh, or I'm going to do my sand. So we'll get that down. And it's like we're in the room, like I'll be doing the dishes or something, but it's not like she's like completely gone, like we can't see her. I'll just come check on her, and she'll let me know. She's really good about letting me know too if Elliot's doing something he shouldn't do. She'll say he has something, he can break it, or he has glass in his hand. So she's kind of like tattletales on him, I would say. But I normally do that when he is down for his nap, or if he's like with me. I like to put him, when I'm doing dishes or working on something, I like to put him in his high chair, and then he looks at books at the table. So he's more strapped in, as he will get into a lot of things. And if I leave him with crayons in there, he'll eat the crayons. Like, he's just all over the place. Or if I do put him with books, I kind of put him down on the floor, and like they're both looking at books. But it's just making sure that they have something to do. And then it's like, hey, what do you guys want to play with? Go do that.
And I think that's the biggest part is us not introducing like iPads or a phone for them to just sit and watch. Even when Poppy was younger, we always had her either playing with her little toys or playing in her kitchen.
But we would have her watch Miss Rachel a lot more when she was younger then, don't you think?
We had her watch Miss Rachel?
Like, when I feel like she would watch Miss Rachel like here and there when she was Elliot's age.
Yeah.
Which we don't do that with him now.
Because he just kind of plays with Poppy, and he's like learning from her. And I don't even think Miss Rachel, we didn't put her on an iPad or anything. It was just on the TV, and I feel like she learned a lot from Miss Rachel.
Yeah.
I mean, just the different songs and the hand motions.
Yeah, I think that there is that. There's like, you definitely learn some things from there. But I do think that if you're using it all the time as like for them to entertain themselves versus just letting their brains be bored and wander and think about what they can play with. Elliot will get into the most random things, but I'm like, oh, he play with the broom, or as long as there's no like glass or something he can break, I'm okay with him like grabbing random things around the house.
He was in that little tiny square box, and that was just laying around, and then I look over to the right, and he's just sitting inside the box all squished.
He's
and
so random sometimes.
He has like a book, and then Poppy's like, I want to go in the box, so I had to find another box, and both of them are just in boxes.
He's so cute.
But they find just anything around the house to get into and play and explore, and that's how we let them do that. We don't try to...
Although I do need to buy... I just bought them. I forgot. I bought those I was super anti those child locks around the bathroom because we never did that with Poppy. She would never get into stuff like Elliot. Elliot just like will open random things and like throw at things. And with Elliot, I thought, oh, I'm not going to childproof the house. And every time I'm doing my makeup, he like grabs stuff out of there. He throws it on, and like all the drawers in our bathroom, you can easily get things. There's so many drawers that you can grab like something from it. No, we bought the child locks, and then Poppy, I opened it up because I was going to set it up. You need to set them. You need to give them 24 hours because they're sticky buttons. So you hook the side and then you unclip it, and it's supposed to sit for 24 hours so it can get sticky on the surface. And Poppy, I go down in the kitchen and she had stuck them on the wall. And she's like, oh, I saw this package of stickers. I'm like, okay. So now those are all ruined.
There's
I
like
have
7 child locks all in a straight row.
She's like, I love these buttons. And I thought, well, at least they work. But she's just like clipping open the buttons thinking they're so fun and they're stickers. So yeah, I don't know why I even opened up the package sooner than I needed to. So yeah, I still like all my bathroom is not set up right because all like the gel or anything that he can touch is way out of reach. And then anything that I don't care if he knocks over or spills is at the bottom. So nothing makes sense in there and I can barely find anything. And then my brushes will be somewhere he'll put them in the... It's just like I really do need to set up the child locks.
We found him with a baby diaper rash cream in his hair or some wax in his hair because he found some jar. And these jars aren't not even like they're on the floor. But his face
when you walk in, because he knows he wasn't supposed to be doing that, he looks like what are you going to do? And he's like doing that like goofy grin that he does.
Yeah, he's like waiting for the
and
reaction.
He's like, right? He says, you know how he does this thing where he goes, like he wants to get your attention.
Mm-hmm.
And he just has his hair matted with the diaper rash cream. It's the funniest thing.
Well, we want them to explore and just
get
so
into
funny.
Things. I mean, I did film a video when I was watching it back as I was editing it. So I had this cough syrup that's, it was like for my cough, but it's the beekeeper's propolis. It's really sticky honey, and it's like a nighttime cough syrup. So I had set it on my nightstand. Didn't realize I didn't put the cap on all the way. And as I was filming the video, I was like a get ready with me when I was going to that event. You can go back on my feed and see it. As I'm editing the video, because afterwards I had seen that he had spilled it on my white carpet. I'm like, shoot, I have to get that out somehow. But I was in a rush. I had to go to the event, whatever. So as I'm editing the video, I see him in the video unpull the cap, and then you can see the stain on the floor afterwards. It's like I see the moment that it happened, but it's just like that. It happened so fast, and it's like I step in front of him. He has the bottle. I step back out, and it's like all over the floor. So that's exactly how it happens most of the time. He's so funny, though.
He's super quick.
I've had to learn to just like, whatever, just don't stress.
No,
I am determined to try to figure out how to get that out because
it's purple.
It's bright purple
rug.
Yeah. And I've had that rug for over 2 years now, and it's not gotten stained. So, and he comes around.
We had this white couch. There's a little bit of a stain, but
there's actually a stain you're sitting on that couch.
It's the charcoal.
It's this activated charcoal packets I had, and for some reason, either I had left it out or Poppy had grabbed it, and she basically opened it and it was dripping out. And she's like, is it fine if I drip it on here? I'm like, what is it? I thought it was mud or something. She's like, it's this packet, and it was activated charcoal. So I haven't attempted to get that out yet, but half the time if someone sits on it, you can't even see.
Just cover it up with a pillow or a blanket.
Yeah.
But for having a bit of white stuff in here, I think
it's worked out
pretty good.
Okay. Kids. Thoughts on homeschooling? Our kids are not old enough to homeschool at this moment right now. Poppy's 3.5, and then Elliot is 1.5. So as of right now, they're not in any school. But we have thought about it, and I really want to homeschool. What do you want to do?
I want to do what you want to do.
I was really hesitant on it before, but then I heard this interview, and the curriculum is called, I just followed them on Instagram, but I don't know what. I'd have to go back. Classical conversation or classical curriculum, something classical. And they were talking about how the kids coming through this curriculum, it's about 3 hours a day on average, less if they're little, like maybe an hour if they're in elementary school. And they're doing public speaking. They're doing public speaking from 4 on. They're doing policy debates at 14. They're learning all these, they're like reading the Federalist Papers. They're reading the sources of all this American history, which is like the patriotism and like the love of America versus like what is a lot in a lot of the public schools right now is like hating America and the anti-American rhetoric. And I just really like that they come out, like I think they said 75% of them get full ride scholarships to college if they want to do it. And a lot of them want to be entrepreneurs because they're used to not being sitting in a desk all day. They want to be out there. They're able to go pursue what they want to be involved in. A lot of them have a lot of volunteer hours because they do their work and then they can go volunteer somewhere. They can start their little business, whatever they're working on.
But didn't even they say too, when they were 16 or some 16-year-olds, they were already working like their full-time job.
Yes.
And then they realize, oh, I don't like this. And then they
had time to experiment in what they wanted. And they had a very early start on that because they had, so the curriculum basically you have these pods. So you go once a week and you learn with the tutor in your pod of like your zip code. And so the parents learn too. And I'm excited about that because I want to learn. I want to go through it too because I feel like there were gaps in my education just from not wanting to raise my hand or be embarrassed that I don't know math that well in class. And it's like a way that they teach it that's like way, they said the kids are thriving much more.
I remember listening to it, and the coolest thing too was even the parents having gone through this curriculum, they can do additional schooling.
Oh, right.
To get their master's degree in teaching.
Simultaneously. Yeah. And they offer, there's just like a lot of different perks from listening to this, how bright the kids are afterwards. And I was just like, wow, this is way different than what I was thinking about homeschooling.
Yeah, we're thinking like 6 hours a day and having to go through.
Well, I mean, I was homeschooled 5th grade to 8th grade. And I really liked it because I was able to be done with school at like 11:30 every day. I went in for testing each week. We did like an independent study. But then I remember I tested out of English my freshman year. I was really ahead. And then my test scores my sophomore year, I went to public high school, I'd averaged out. So it's like I was ahead. And then it's like the public school system, or just like the pace of what I was learning, definitely averaged out. You could see that from my test scores. So I do know, and that was back in, I don't even know when I was in 8th grade. That was like the wave of the 90s when like homeschooling was. 2000. Yeah. So I do know that it helped me at that time, but I was always like, I'm not going to homeschool my kids. It seems like a lot, like with no support or like no, I would want someone to help out with the teaching, like the tutoring part. And that's why we were thinking about possibly getting a teacher. But just listening to these couples talk about how they manage it, like the dad will come in, they'll do breakfast, and then they'll work on their, and the nice thing is about the program that I really liked is that no matter how many kids you have, they're all learning the same thing, but just at different levels. So everyone does math at the same time, but they're like doing it a little bit differently. So it's not like you're doing all these different assignments with all the kids. Say you have a ton of kids. But I thought that was really smart. They're like, you want to be efficient. You want to be able to have time to do other things. Public school is a relatively new invention with the Industrial Revolution. And if you look back at the history of what public school was intended to do, it's actually pretty...
Create workers.
It's like very... Yeah. look into that. So I've been way more open to the idea. And when I looked up the zip code pod support here for the homeschooling, oh, and then also anywhere you travel, like let's say you go to Italy, they have people out there that do it. You can take off and do something, but then you can meet up with your tutor still in different countries or different states. So I really like that. It was like you have the support, you can take off on a trip if you need to and still do your work. And I mean, they talked about the social aspect. The kids are so involved in all these. They do sports, they do volunteer work. They're
community plays.
Yeah, I was shocked at just how involved they were in their community. And I was just really highly impressed with the amount of colleges that wanted these kids after too, because their test scores were incredible, but also that they were very self-starters. They could debate, they could have these debates, and they're like in high school, like they would never, unless you're part of the debate class in high school, that was never taught to me, to be like, you have to start public speaking, you have to be in front of people. This is how they model a lot of like real world work situations, which I love that. It's like preparing them for actual real life skills, but then also learning about history. And so, yeah, I think it'll be a cool adventure. So I do need to do a parent day where I can meet up with, and the nice thing is when I looked at the California pod that our zip code before, there was not that many around. And out here, there's way more. So I have the option to choose of which pod would fit go to a parent day and see what it's like.
Just get the vibe.
Yeah. Poppy is always very big on telling me whenever we talk about Jaden going to college, she's like, I never want to go to college and I never want to go to school. I'm like, why? She's like, I want to hang out with you guys.
She has an issue even going,
she's like, I don't want to go to school.
During church to try to get her to go to her class. I mean, she's been doing better now.
She's not gone to her class though.
But doing better as in like sitting with us during the sermon.
But, yeah, because I look at her, I say, do you want to go to your class? And she's like,
which,
no.
I mean, that's probably not a great way of going
Jay's
about
like,
it
Mom,
either.
you can't say that to her in the class. But if she's like playing around, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to drop you off in your class. And she's like,
as if it's this horrible
It's just like a nice little, I'm like, don't you want to meet friends? You can have your birthday party. She's like, well, how about you meet the friends and you have them come to my birthday party? She's so funny. But she is learning in church too, because even we had to watch churches last weekend because I wasn't sure I didn't want to get anyone sick, if I was contagious or what, I don't even know if it was allergies or what. But she had mentioned something that they had referenced about a previous week. Remember that? And I thought that was nice because she's remembering she's
paying attention.
Yeah, she is paying attention, which that's good. So I think Poppy would be really down on homeschooling.
Yeah.
She's very much like, I'm not going to college. I'm like, I don't know what she'll want to do, but maybe I hope all my kids are entrepreneurs and own their own business, because that's just the freedom of working for yourself, making your own schedule. Would you ever want to go back to work for someone else at this point?
I mean, it would be tough. It would have to be like a really good company and have flexibility, but there's just nothing. There's nothing different, not different, but there's nothing like the same like feeling of creating something and seeing if you can grow it and going through all the problem solving and trying to see how to
the passion that you have behind it.
Yeah, there's just that hunger of wanting to create something, and that'd be tough because if I'm working somewhere else and say I enjoy it, but I'm maybe on the side thinking, wait, how can I start my own thing, or how can you do this? So yeah, and I always felt that too, even towards my internship in college. I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. But then it was a really crappy internship. I was just sitting doing Excel sheets for like 8 hours. I was like, is this what real life is going to be? And they're like, here, file this. And I would be in this huge room with all these filing cabinets with this stack of papers so tall. And I'd be in there for hours just filing things away.
But before we started this business, I always thought that working for someone else was safer. Like, I always thought it was more secure because you get your paycheck every 2 weeks and you're not stressed about if you're going to make money and my dad had a construction business, and in 2008, they almost lost their house. So I used basically all my tax refund, which now knowing I probably shouldn't have gotten any tax refund because that means that you're not balancing your taxes right.
You just lended the government your money.
But I got a big tax refund that year. But Anyway, so I helped my parents save their house at that point, and I remember thinking I never want to have my own business because it's just that's like so stressful to think that. But also there was the economy. It was like there was a lot of things going on in that situation. But that really stuck out to me in 2008 that I don't want to ever be a business owner. I don't. This is so stressful. It's all on you. But then at the same time, if you're working for someone during that time, you're getting laid off. Like it doesn't mean that it's more secure.
And you hear stories where people are at companies for 30 years and then they got laid off or they were
Right.
forced into retirement. So nothing is completely safe. But at least if you're an entrepreneur or, you know, you're trying to start something and you get going, at least you have the ability to, like, it's all on you. Unless,
To
like,
pivot or
something happens like the economy, obviously the economy in 2008, but like you have the ability to be like, I'm going to work through this and I'm going to make this succeed and have that hunger to do it.
so hopefully that we can not only model that for our kids, but if during their time being homeschooled and they really thrive and love it and they have time to explore what they want to do, maybe that will open the door for them to explore those things earlier to where they can get a head start and they're not exhausted coming home from, I remember when Jaden, when she was in public school, do you remember those packets that she would get after school? And it's like, this is not fair to the kids that can't afford tutors and can't afford, or their parents aren't home to help them with the packets. Like, why are public schools sending their kids home with all these packets for the parents to do with them? It's like that's not fair to the kids who don't have the financial situation to help support them.
And you're starting school at 8 a.m. and
You're coming
then
home
you're
with packets after? That was
getting
ridiculous.
out and then having to do hours of packets. And then where's the reprieve?
Yeah, I did not like that at all. So I was happy with her. At least in her private school, she didn't have as much homework, and I know some of the parents complained about that because especially if you're coming from a different model of where you're used to a lot of homework and a lot of packets, you think you're doing more, but really you're burning the kids out.
Yeah.
Renovation house project in Tennessee. Renovation/house project in Tennessee.
There is none.
Yeah, there's no renovation happening in Tennessee, but in California, our house is almost ready. Probably about a couple more months and then it'll be listed. But there's a lot of interest in it. So we'll see. I mean, it really depends on the market with everything going on, but
And we've kind of been going back and forth too, because we're looking at places out here and we've seen some great houses that don't need any renovation. And then we see some houses that it would need some work. And we're just, do we want to put ourselves in another situation where we're renovating again?
no.
I mean, not to that extreme, or for kind of, okay, let's do the bathroom. And then a few months later, maybe let's do the kitchen. Like this last house that we visited, I thought the style was nice. It was completely.
The only thing about that one that we visited was it was the nicest house on the street, and I don't want to be the nicest house on the street. The other houses were like a little bit more run down. And I think for resale value down the line, if you do any changes to it, it doesn't help. The equity in your home's already maxed out if it's a brand new house. So I think that if we're going to be looking at some homes tomorrow, but we're looking at nicer areas, but like the homes are like maybe a little outdated, but you can move in.
I would feel like we need to put
Like a
some
little
work
bit.
into it, just because we want the house to feel like us. And if we buy something that's completely renovated and new, it's hard to be like, okay, well, I'm going to tear out this newly renovated bathroom because it just doesn't fit our style. Or
And some of the new builds out here, and I think this is across the US, some of the new builds do feel like an apartment on the inside where they have a lack of that hominess.
it's like the design element. I feel
It's like you can tell a builder did it and not someone who is going to be living in the house.
it's like white, blue, and gold accents, or it has
But
that.
the flow of the house is weird.
Yeah.
It's like you can tell someone just did the design plans and are stamping them out, but they're not, the flow is off. So I think from designing our other houses, as far as like how we use the house and the flow of what, I think we've learned a lot in the process. And even updating a kitchen or updating a bathroom over the years adds so much value to a home. So it's like if we can find a house that has, maybe it's like a little outdated, but just needs like a little bit of your own personal touch, you're going to add value to your home if you wanted to resell it. And I always think of resale value, even if we're trying to be in a house for a while, it's like you always want to add a little bit of equity to your home.
Or if there's room to add another bedroom, because adding bedrooms or a bathroom is definitely going to increase the price of your house. So we're looking at it from all aspects of, if we do get into a place, how long we're going to be there, we don't know. But if
But
we
we're
can
looking
add
for a
value,
minimum of 5 acres. I think that's right now this rental house is on over 20 acres. And because you can't have goats or cows, there's a lot of grass that basically they like have someone come and pick up the hay and give it to another farmer that has animals. So I think if you had the animals grazing the grass, then it makes more sense to have this much land. But otherwise, I don't see the point of having so much land if you can't have animals.
yeah,
Unless you wanted to have a huge garden or a huge flower garden, then that would, I think, make a little bit more sense. But I do feel like there's like, we're not using the land as much as we could, because it's not like we're having the kids like, I mean, the grass that's growing out there that's pretty tall, you're not going to want to go in there and just walk around, because there could be like ticks, or they usually say like stay away from like the more tall grass out here.
And that's going to get taller. They're up to 6 feet.
Yeah. So it's like, you're not really having the kids go out there and just run around in it and see what they can find. But they do trim the grass that's closer to the house. So we have, how many acres would you say that we have that's mowed lawn?
Maybe 5 to 7, I would say. Mowed lawn.
Yeah. And I feel like that feels like a lot of space.
Yeah.
You can have horses here, but at the same time, we don't know how to ride a horse or anything. So we'd have
there's
to,
no horse stable.
like you'd have to build a stable, right? Like
I think the people that want a lot of land but don't want to do anything with it, they just want
they
their
want the
space.
privacy.
Yeah.
That makes more sense, because then you don't have someone around you, and I get that. But I do feel like I'm like, oh, we should be using the land like for growing a lot more. But I feel like 5 acres is good, to where you've got a little bit of privacy, and then you can figure out at least how to have a couple animals, and they're not like right in front of your house.
And we're not looking for something that's 50 plus acres either, because even
No.
with all that land, we're still learning. We're not going to know what to even do with that. And I feel like a 5-acre plot would give us just enough room to be able to educate ourselves and learn, and have enough land to be able to do that.
I would like it to be like a little bit more rundown, to where we can pay off the house and have no house payment. Like I really just don't want to have a house payment. So that's my ultimate goal. Like just the freedom of not having a house payment, the money that you would spend in the rent each month, or like the mortgage. I always call it the rent. Have that freed up to do other things. You can go on a trip. You can save up for something else you want. You can invest in another property and flip it. And I do think there's a big lack of the design elements of these flipped homes. Like you can just change a little bit of things and make it look a little classier. I would love to do that. Like flip homes, but make them not so stark white, all the same. But I guess you would still have to make sure they're enough for a profit. Like you don't want to put too much into it.
Yeah.
But just like the warm tones even would make it feel
Just a
more homey.
added design element to it.
So there's different opportunities there. But there is, like, we're trying to just figure out by visiting different homes, seeing the different layouts, we're kind of narrowing it down. And now we're understanding where the different areas are here.
Yeah, driving a lot more, going south, southeast, southwest. Like really, you can tell the different landscapes, and there's just beautiful roads to drive down. But we're starting to really understand our bearings and what area we specifically are drawn to. Because I noticed that we haven't really gone towards, southeast area. We saw a couple of houses over there, but we haven't really been
where it's more
that way.
wooded. We don't want too much wooded area, because it is hard to have animals and have a garden. It's hard you'd have to clear a lot for the sun. So we're trying to stay out of the woods. Like I don't want the kids to be running through trees, so like very dense trees.
And I like the hills in this side.
The landscape out here is stunning.
There's like pockets that look like valleys, and you have flat land, but then there's trees around. It's just beautiful.
How green it is out here right now. Because when we first were looking at places, when we came in January, we also came in October, right before the leaves were turning orange. Right? Didn't we come in October? They hadn't changed yet.
Yeah.
And no one had set up for Halloween or anything yet. But when we came then, someone said, oh, you have to come back for fall. It's like the most stunning time out here. But then out here, people are, even at this last event I went to, they're like, aren't you falling in love with it so much more now that everything's blooming? It's so pretty. Like the rolling hills, it really looks like you're in a painting sometimes.
And then you have the big blue sky and then the white clouds, and it's just so this contrast is.
We've driven the Natchez Trace. We haven't driven the whole thing. I think it's like a 4-hour. Is that the 4-hour route?
It's longer than 4. Doesn't it take you all the way down to Mississippi?
I have to look it up, but we've driven that just on the weekends just to like have a calming drive. It is so pretty. They don't allow any big trucks on it, so it doesn't have any traffic, and it's just beautiful. Just
there's
the trees.
Billboards,
there's no buildings.
No houses along the roads. It's just straight road and nature.
Is beautiful, and it was a trade route in like the 1700s.
The fur traders.
It was really dangerous at the time too, because there would be attacks or people trying to raid them. So just looking at the history of it too, but they used to have inns along the way where they would go by horse. But just learning about the different history of what people had to go through to settle these lands is crazy. So our house in California should sell. Relatively, I would think like over the summer.
Yeah, it's going to be done soon, and then we'll list it, and we'll see how it goes.
But I remember when your mom went and saw what we had done to the house, and she had seen the house in the beginning, but she said how much you guys have gone into your health and the neighborhood where it is. The street is really busy. She's like, this doesn't even fit your guys' lifestyle anymore with how much you love to walk and just take the kids out. She even made that comment. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Like, it's not a walking street. I have to put the kids in the car, drive down somewhere, and then
we'd have to drive to the Rose Bowl, and that's where everyone.
Right. But she's like, this isn't even a walking house. You guys walk all the time. Just like the little things that had changed since we bought the house. Like,
this is what happens when you buy a house and
have it for 2 years before.
2.5, yeah.
How to afford living in LA. I mean, kind of depends on your goals. Like, do you want to live there or do you want to own a house? And if you can't afford to buy a house out there, it's like maybe be okay with moving out a little further out.
Yeah, you wouldn't be living in LA or West Hollywood. You would have to go further down the 210.
I feel like most people that are like trying to make it out there are like in apartments or
roommates.
Right. They have a lot of roommates. I think it just depends on what your goals are. Like if you're trying to be in the industry or acting, it's like you have to be there. So, but I mean, the quality of life does go down because it is pretty expensive. And like even the gas compared to out there and here. Jaden came out. The first thing she noticed is like, why is the gas so cheap here? Like, well, quality of just what things cost out here is way cheaper.
Yeah, we are driving a little bit more than usual, but I think my gas mileage actually got better. Before I would only get like 320 miles a tank, and now I'm getting 540.
That's crazy. I don't understand how people have. I've seen a lot of Cybertrucks. I don't know how people have Cybertrucks out here. Where do you charge them at? Well, I guess if you're in Nashville, it's a little different, but we're outside more.
They have like a house charger.
Oh, true.
But then
if you're driving so many miles, how would you?
I have not seen one Tesla charging station at all.
No.
So yeah, it must be closer to Nashville. But you have to have home chargers.
You'd have to, right? There's a lot of G-Wagons out here, which I wouldn't think that because they don't get as much gas mileage if you're driving further. But I love the way they drive, like with the handling of it's like a truck, but also you're like, it's very secure.
You might get better gas mileage because you're not doing that stop and go.
That's true.
It's not going to be anything near like another car that takes less gas.
That's true. There's a lot of trucks out here.
Which I can see the reason, because even trying to get the wood for the gardening beds and putting 16 8-foot long pieces of wood into our car, I'm like, oh, I really hope this doesn't hurt the leather or.
Jaden wants us to get one of those old style Fords, like a 1950s.
I just
Is
need
it
a truck with a
1950s or
bed so I can throw
1960s?
stuff in it. But
I know if it was an older car like that, I feel like I would be too nervous to get it because aren't those more of classic cars?
I mean, if it's not refurbished or not refurbished, but
She's like, you have to get a classic country car like that. I'm like,
it needs to be something that costs like $5,000.
not that much, right?
And it can haul some wood. Natural remedies that actually work. You need your garlic lemon drink
Oh yeah,
that was rough, but
I feel like it works.
I feel like it definitely did something, but it made me nauseous.
So Anthony was not feeling well. I think this was like right after we moved, but I said, oh, if you want to fight any sickness, you have to smash garlic. So you smash garlic, a clove, and you leave it out for like 10 minutes so it activates whatever makes it more of like antiviral, antibacterial. I think I did like 9 cloves for you, which was probably a little bit more.
I was going to say, you did not just put one clove in that.
It was like 9.
That was a lot of garlic.
And I put some fresh ginger. I put honey, Manuka honey. I put lemon, cayenne, and cumin because cumin's very anti-inflammatory. I think I put turmeric and black pepper too. It was a concoction of everything, and you said you felt nauseous for a second, but the next day you did feel a little bit better.
Well, when you drink it, because it's just that so much garlic and all that stuff is just mixing together. Probably for 5 minutes after, I felt really queasy, and I thought it's because I didn't eat. But then I had that drink again after I did eat, and it did the same thing. But yeah, after that, the next day I did feel a lot better. I probably didn't smell the greatest.
Garlic's supposed to kill parasites too. Jaden, when she came, she felt like she was getting sick. I said, okay, I have a garlic drink for you. She's like, am I going to smell like garlic the next day? I'm like, no, just trust me. And we both did it. And she's like, I do feel like, she texted me the next day after she had landed. She's like, I do feel like it helped. I don't feel like.
But I was driving her to the airport and she was yawning because it was at 4 a.m. and her flight was at 6:30. But she had yawned and I'm like, what?
And we were up late, me and her talking that night.
I'm like, did mom give you that garlic drink?
I'm just passing out my garlic drinks to anyone. I was actually thinking I need to get more garlic cloves because I need to do that today. Just to like jumpstart whatever.
Just flush
my
it
immunity.
out.
Yeah, and it kills whatever. Also, I slept with onions next to my bed. Cut up, and the room did not smell good. Like I had 2 big bowls of sliced onions on both sides. I do feel like it helped my cough a bit, but like I don't know if it was in my head because.
But what was the reasoning? Because what are they supposed to do?
They're supposed to release a compound. I don't know if it's like a sulfuric compound that is supposed to help with decongestion. But of course, if you read any medical journal, they're like, it's not proven. Of course, anything that's like a home remedy is always like looked at as like folklore, but people have been doing it for centuries. So
but you didn't put the onions in your socks?
No, I didn't want to put the onions in my socks because that's just I couldn't go to sleep with that.
I would really be curious though to just do it and then look at the onion after to see if it pulled anything, because you know how you see those videos where people put something on their feet and it soaks up.
Shoot, it keeps
supposed to soak up all the toxins. They peel it off and it's all black.
Ew, no, I've never seen that before. What videos are you watching?
Natural remedy videos.
Ew, what do you mean it's all black? That's
it's
edited.
like I don't know what type of paper or what they do. It's somewhere in Asia, but they put it on your feet. It's supposed to soak up all the toxins, and then they pull it off, and it's just like black stuff.
Ew, no, I don't want to see that.
I'd be really curious to see if does that actually work?
What are some small realistic wellness habits that made a big difference in your family?
Sleep.
Yeah, getting enough sleep.
Got to do 7 to 8 hours. You shoot for 8.
I notice that if I'm at 7 or 7.5, I don't feel 100%. Sleep is huge. Getting outside, getting in the sun, going on a walk. I feel like walking is like something that's so part of our daily routine that
it's just nice to get the body moving, especially after a meal. It's supposed to help with digestion. So we'd sometimes have dinner and then just go out for a walk, or we go in the back and we're running around with Poppy because she just likes to be chased, and we're just moving our bodies after a meal. And I do notice that I don't feel as full after doing all that, and I get a better sleep score too, which is kind of nice because your body's not, while you're sleeping, your body's not trying to digest the food. It's actually repairing. And
how has the mold detox gone?
I don't know. We haven't really tested again.
Oh, I've been testing, but you have to do your...
Oh, the blood work.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, so I still have to do mine.
My inflammation is better. I still have to do a mold test. I don't want to do it when, like, while I'm run down. I don't know if I'm run down or if this is allergies or what, but that's the final thing, is doing the mold, the urine sample that we did before, to see what our count is at.
But maybe we need to do the blood, not the urine, because remember they said it's could be conflicting sometimes, because if your body is getting rid of the mold, it's like doing a good job through the urine.
I did my function health test, and the inflammation tests that I had before, those are all to normal. So I know that my body is going in a better direction. All my stats had the improving factors, which I was really happy about. And I actually got my biological age dropped even 2 years younger. So now I'm 14 years younger than my chronological age. And before it was 12 years younger. I don't know. It's like a weird thing that I want to see if I can improve it each time. Okay. So I think just walking, getting outside, not being inside all day. Okay, let's see. Faith. That's broad. God. How to get started on a faith journey. There's a lot of faith questions in here. How has your faith evolved since becoming parents? Faith. Truthfully, I didn't know people were so interested in it, because I feel like because we had the podcast, we're more just open on what we're doing and talking about. It's refreshing to be out here with people who are also value having a relationship with God and having the community where it's very faith-centric here. And it's so refreshing from, being in LA. Everyone's like trying to figure out like, ooh, like it's like a lot of like new age crystals and all that I just like I never believed in, because it doesn't align with the Bible. And for me, it's like I've always just based truth on the Bible. And for coming out here, it's like so refreshing. That's why a part of me wishes that we came sooner, because we were lacking that out there. And it's like how much it's so important to have your faith in God and love God with all your heart, but also like loving people. And those are the two greatest commandments. I feel like you lose sight of that sometimes when you're just like so focused on work or your career. It's okay to be like that, but it's like, what are we doing outside of, like, how else can we be serving? It's like really changes your perspective on so many things that seem really trivial.
Yeah, I think it's just being in LA. That's what it is. You're just, and it's not like, oh, I'm against God or I don't believe in God for us, but it's more of.
Wait, what do you mean?
Like, I'm not saying that because we were just getting so busy and it was just work and we were trying to do better and be better. And it wasn't saying that we don't believe in God, or it was just.
It was like go to church. But like the day to day, it was like very much like far from us, where it wasn't
we
like.
We were losing that focus of, wait, are we serving God or are we trying to serve ourselves?
Yeah. And I feel like coming out here, not that you have to like move. There's like I'm sure there's a faith community out there. We just didn't find it where we were at in Pasadena, but we also weren't super plugged in either. But I think it's this like this move and just really realigning with like what our purpose is and like what we're here to do. And I feel like if we're not sharing our faith, then what are we doing this for?
Yeah.
We've been listening to that podcast It's called Imagine the God of Heaven, and it talks about these near-death experiences where the person's name is John. Is it John Burke?
Yeah, John Burke.
So he had studied. He was agnostic before. He had studied 1,500 case studies of where these people had near-death experiences, and critics, I guess, would say that, oh, it was just your brain like unplugging and decharging. They were
Like tweaking out, or
it was just like the electrodes in your brain. But he was saying the hospital and even the doctors would say that there was no brain activity happening. So there's no way the brain could be sending off these electrodes when there's no brain activity happening. And these people in these near-death experiences would see exactly what was happening in the emergency room after they either had like a hellish experience or they had like a heavenly experience. And he said that the nurses would always be so shocked when they would say after some of them were dead for like an hour, 3 hours. Some of them were dead for 20 minutes, like legally dead or medically dead. Not like they.
Or even that one guy, he had woken up and they were about to bury him.
Well, one of them had been. He came in a coma where he had like no brain activity. They moved him, so they like operated on him in one room. They moved him into the recovery room where he woke up like a few days later. But his memory, seeing what was happening, came from the room that he had no brain activity in. And so just hearing the different case studies of how they said he said he doesn't believe all of them, but some of them, what he looks at is for the commonalities of like, what is the common thread? These people haven't talked to each other.
They're from all over the world.
All different religions having the same overall experience of like what God is like, heaven is like, and what hell is like. And it's been such a interesting look into like God is so much more real than we figure out in our day-to-day lives, and even like the spiritual warfare that's going on that you don't even know that's happening. Like, but those could be like little attacks of like, I know that when we started sharing our faith more, a lot of different things came against us more, where it's like, I thought that was so interesting that they were talking about where it was like, if you're just like lukewarm in your faith and you're really not doing much, you're not really sharing your faith, you're just kind of like, oh yeah, I believe. But even demons believe, Satan believes in God, but it's like when you actually start sharing your faith and when you'll notice things will come against you, because it's like those attacks to where Satan wants to pull you down and be like, no, don't go down that route. This is way easier being lukewarm back here. Mm-hmm. And so I've been listening to that podcast, and the book is called Imagine the God of Heaven, and hearing just how merciful these experiences are with. And they talk about Hindu experiences, Jewish experiences. It's all the same God that they experience. And when
like non-believers,
atheists had these experiences, and it's just made me so much more in awe of like just how much mercy he has for us, and how you feel like such a failure sometimes, but he's like, no, I'm here for you.
Even when they were going through their experiences and they hadn't lived a great life and a life away from God,
the commonality was that you get that life review, and always the thing was, in like a lot of these cases, was like how you treated other people, the relationships, and you could feel the hurt of someone that you hurt. And that really like sat with me afterwards, because I thought about like my life review in my head, and the different people that were talking about that all the things they had done in secret was shown in front of them too. And so it's just like that thing of like, how are you treating other people, or like, are you loving people like as. And
they would say like during these experiences, they're like, wait, you were there, like to Jesus or
right.
God, and he's like, yeah, I was there, like, and that they can feel even Jesus's hurt during the time that they were hurting others. Like it was a whole, like he's in every moment. And that was kind of like, that was the light bulb moment where, you're doing things throughout your life and you don't realize that he is there with you he is there with you.
But trying to get someone's attention. And so like throughout the years, like especially the atheist one we listened to, he said that he when he was having his hellish experience, and that one scared me a lot. Like what actually these experiences of hell are so
I mean, he
scary.
had like PTSD because there's certain things he couldn't even talk about because it was so bad.
And the creepiest part was like people trying, like those who were alcoholics, those who were drug addicts, those whatever their vices were, they were trying to find it there, but they could never get fulfilled with it. And it was like this darkness, this they talk about this utter darkness that is like no light at all. And oh, it just like freaked me out. But in those experiences, they always had this kind of idea in the back of their head where they're like, call out to God, call out to Jesus, and a light would appear. And they'd be like, he just wanted you to acknowledge, like, okay, I need you. But it was just so interesting. Like all these, and these are from different people from all different, and they talk about this dark feeling of you're falling, but it's like super, super dark. And it's just like this, like complete despair of knowing that this is how it's going to be. And that I'm like, that is the scariest thing to me, to think about being fully separated from God for eternity afterwards. And a lot of the different experiences, I thought it was gonna be like a party in hell. Like you hear those like highway to hell, those like the people that were not believers were like, I just thought hell was gonna be like a party and like whatever you wanted to do down there. They're like, it was the scariest thing I've ever experienced. And that having that moment where Jesus is giving me another chance and saying like, okay, now go back and tell what you've seen. It's like he's like, just like how much mercy he has for you, even in like the last minute.
Very last minute, then they give their life to God and they come back. And he said a lot of those people that have the hellish experiences, they end up becoming pastors
Because they just want people to never feel like that, and they want to share their experience. And I just thought it was like I didn't even know these were a thing, like such a glimpse into, and just a glimpse into this like unknown. I guess like sometimes when I think of heaven, I think it's gonna be kind of boring, right? It's like, what are we doing all day up there? It's like for eternity. It's like, can't even picture what we'd be doing for eternity. Here, we're like, okay, we have 80 years. You kind of like think about your life. But I mean,
But that's like because of our concept of time, like the earthly things where you have time, you have age, you feel emotion. But when you listen to these stories, there was no concept of time.
no
The people
concept of
said
time.
no time. Emotions were intensified. If they had a loving experience, a heavenly experience,
And they didn't want to come back to earth.
yeah, the emotion that they felt was like, one guy was explaining, imagine the most love that you would have in your life from your wife, your kids, everything, and times that by hundreds of thousands, or he's like millions. And that's what he felt when he was talking with Jesus or, God.
Oh, and another thing they were saying for the near-death experiences are blind people that have never had any brain activity with their eyes to be able to see things,
Born blind.
are born blind, are explaining things in heaven that are commonalities with the other near-death experiences, but they've never actually had sight before. So they're trying to explain what the colors are like. They're trying to explain, but they're seeing the same things, but they actually have sight. So there's like, how can you explain that someone would just have electrodes going off if they've been blind from birth, and now all of a sudden they're seeing these things in their near-death experience that they shouldn't have brain activity for their eyes then. Yeah. So that was super interesting. I also thought it was interesting that they said that everyone was like in their 30s from what they knew. Like they knew they were seeing their grandma, but their grandma they didn't recognize, but they knew that it was her from like the connection. It was like the way they explained, like knowing that it was your family was up there and like, you're reunited with those who were believers in Christ too. And a few of them said, like, I saw people up there that I didn't think would be up there. I thought they would definitely choose hell. But it's like, you never know what God had done in the last minute. You don't know what Jesus is doing in someone's life to get their attention, and maybe in the last minute too. There's stories of kids saying that they saw that they had a sister and the mom didn't tell them that they had a miscarriage. That was like little things like that where that child was in heaven, but also like in their 30s.
The one that really got me was was she a lawyer? But basically her kayak had flipped and she was submerged underwater. And when she went to heaven, she didn't want to come back. But then Jesus said, no, you need to, because you need to be there for your family, because your son is not going to live past basically 18.
And you need to be there for your family and tell everyone what you saw.
And then it actually happened.
He got in a car accident. But she said that even though she knew how good heaven was and like how much she didn't want to leave, it still felt like you still don't lose that like motherly sadness here, knowing you're not with your kids until you see them one day again.
Yeah, the grief.
But I feel like that just gives me so much hope of seeing people that you didn't even know that are part of your family line, but like years and years ahead.
But I think our faith has out here and realigning what our purpose is, and knowing that we need to have that stronger connection with God, and diving into the scriptures and finding a church that really explains the scriptures, and which we found.
Oh, I was just thinking about that. Just reminding me of something else. Sorry, I shouldn't have I should have just mentally made a note in my head versus.
You tend to do that to me quite a bit.
Like,
and if I have just a little bit of a pause, you're like, I'm going to get right in there.
No, in real life, I do that too.
No, I know.
Besides our podcast,
I'll be like, just like a talking thing. It just, she's like, wait. And then you tell me something completely random.
Yeah, you'll say something and I'll remember and I'll be like, wait, I need to tell you that. I'll be like, don't forget to tell me that afterwards.
No, or you'll just interrupt.
I'll just interrupt you. Working on that.
But it's been nice to reconnect and realign and really dive in and grow our connection, and finding podcasts where we can dive deeper in and lead us down another kind of rabbit hole. And
what I'm learning too is, I think we've talked about this together, is people are going to hate you for your faith. And the more you're strong about it, the more that people are going to come out against that. And just in general, like whether it's like the world or whatever, but being so confident in what you believe and knowing it cannot be shaken no matter what is something that I feel like I've grown so much more confident in even this last year. And then it's really diving into the Bible and being like, no matter what happens, we have this inner peace that like, it's truly hard to explain if you have not given your life to Christ. Like you don't have an inner peace. Like you really don't, because you're all just trying to figure out what you're doing on your own. Your life is just a big random blob of cells that are just here for whatever reason. Like what is your reason here on earth? If it seems so lonely, if you don't come from it from a perspective of like, you were created to have a relationship with Christ, and if you don't have a relationship with Christ, you're trying to fill it with all these other things to like fill what that relationship is like. You're trying to jump around to different relationships, and like you're never going to feel that inner peace. Like it's truly hard to explain. What would you explain it as?
I feel if you don't know him, then you're trying to find happiness, and you find happiness in other things, and you find happiness in other things. And when those things get taken away from you, then you start to be like, okay, now I'm starting to feel empty. What can I fill it with? Instead of, God, and having that relationship with him, that inner peace, but he's giving you that joy to where, there's things that we can go on trips, family memories and stuff, and those are happy, joyous moments. But if we're putting that on a pedestal and not realigning and making sure like he is number one,
because the other thing is like, it never says in the Bible that like if you trust God you'll be happy. That's never that's like a very American, like chasing happiness, chasing
like if you want to divorce your wife,
to do whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, do it instead of actually working on a relationship. It isn't about, your whole life isn't like, okay, what makes me happy? Because
following Christ too, they're talking about like all the different persecution in the Old Testament, and I mean even those following Christ with when we watched the Passion of the Christ over Easter, and who was the one who denied Christ 3 times? What, I can't remember.
Peter?
Peter. And he's like, I'll do whatever, I'll follow you no matter what. And then that was at the Passover. He said, oh really? I mean obviously he doesn't say it with that
really,
attitude.
Peter?
Oh
because
really, Peter?
It looks like I already know, and you're going to
deny me 3 times before the rooster crows. And he said, no, I would never do that. But sure enough, like someone came up to him and was like, oh, I saw that you were with him. You were with Jesus. He's like, no, I don't know him at all.
Well, and that was when everything was going down. Like
that was when, right.
Yeah.
But it made me think about like, what would my what would I say right now if someone was coming to me and saying like, you're going to get killed for your faith? What would you say? I would 100% be like, kill me then.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this life is going to pass anyway. And like, you're going to have, I can't imagine denying Christ. I mean, I know Peter in that situation, it was like,
I mean, just
human like nature.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa, don't mess with my life. But like knowing, I also think it was like different then because it's like he didn't have the Bible afterwards. It was like Jesus had come in, right? It's like he was following him, but like for us, it's like we have way more knowledge, the history proof, we have so much in front of us that proves that Christ is real. Like we shouldn't be like
but
doubting
he was
at this
doing
point.
miracles.
I know that's so true.
Mean, he was there when Jesus was doing a bunch of stuff,
Peter,
like
you
his
have no
ministry.
excuse.
Yeah. So this episode ran a little bit longer than intended. So tune in next week for part 2. You can check us out on Apple, Spotify, or Brittany's YouTube channel at Brittany Xavier. And we will see you next week. Take care.